shouldn't have been in finance. So if there's an increase in things like pension and health care costs, that's the reason why. All right, as we go down through here. Salaries, wages, and temporary employees. This is where I put, as I talked about in my budget message, for the floater clerk and the part-time right-to-know officer. Now, what I did is I reduced that. You'll notice in my budget message it's higher, but I reduced it because I didn't think it needed to be as high as I had it in my budget message. I think I had $15,000 for the right-to-know, and I have $10,000. And the floater clerk, I think I had $10,000. I reduced that to $5,000. So that's $15,000, and that's a new line item under my budget. Unless council has any questions with that, that's in the budget right now. If you pass the budget, those two part-time positions, which, as I mentioned to you at the last budget hearing, I'd like to combine those, and which would be a union position.
Who would the part-time person, the right-to-know, who would they report to?
Well, technically, they would. The part-time right-to-know officer would report to Joe, because Joe is the one, Joe Sedlak is the one doing that.
Okay, so in other words, you're asking us to put this person on, and then they have to report to Joe, and Joe has to tell them where to find the stuff, so he's really not saving any time.
Until they get educated.
Yeah, but they're a part-time person. I mean, it's going to take them quite a long time to get up to speed.
I mean, I don't know about
Are
that.
right-to-knows going up?
Pardon me, Steve?
Are they going up in comparison to the last
They're
couple years?
staying steady. They're staying steady.
And Joe's been handling it thus far?
Yeah, but as I mentioned to council last year and this year, Joe's title is HR director, and there's a lot of stuff, I'll just say stuff, that an HR director is supposed to do. For instance, the employee handbook, a draft of the employee handbook had been worked on for 18 months, and a draft of it has been given out 6 months ago, and we haven't even had a chance to sit down and look at it because Joe and myself just haven't had the chance in order to go back to the department heads, bring it to Mr. Ratcher, and move ahead with revising the employee handbook. That's just one item that an HR director is supposed to do.
Tim, as you know, I'm married to an HR director, and I don't see where Mr. Sedlak is so overwhelmed that he's not putting safety programs together, he's not doing all this hiring. I'm just a little confused. I think I just need a little more information as to maybe the job description as to why it's so overwhelming that we need to hire 2 people with the amount of
Pleasure of
employees there.
council.
That's all.
So my concern is I'd like a
agree.
little more information on if this was to be, you said it was going to become a union position?
It would have to be if you combine it with the
So
clerk's
is that
position.
a different, we're going to get into a whole bunch of different bidding, and I don't know enough about it.
Are there part-timers currently in the union?
Yes.
What do you expect the learning curve?
Well, one of the things, as I mentioned at the last budget hearing, and I mentioned to the union, as this job description will have 2 or 3 years of experience in local government. It doesn't have to be somebody that has a lot of experience, but they just have to know the vocabulary of local government, what a variance is, what an MMO is, what a liquid fuels report is, just to use some vocabulary in local government.
Well, if I can, I'm in support of this position for the simple fact is, just to answer your question, Steve, is that our right to knows, and I won't say names, but we keep getting appeals and appeals and appeals. Not only does it tie up Joe, it ties up him.
Well, I believe the appeals go through our
I know,
solicitor,
but
right?
it has to go through Joe first. So he has to
So
do
Joe
all-
hands it over to the solicitor.
Well, after he deals with Harrisburg, they tie up a lot of our time. Certainly your vote, but I'm in big-time support of this position.
My only concern is that Joe's going to have to be involved for at least 6 months.
Well, until this person absolutely learns, but I guess they could also work with Ratch, too. You could
Well,
certainly educate.
but then there's a charge from our solicitor at that point too, correct? If he's working with.
That would be part of the, that would be under the retainer. That'd be part of the routine type.
Okay.
Thank you.
My other question is, with these part-time office personnel, that would be for the front desk, is that correct?
That would be a floater up there for the front
What
desk.
does, I mean, we have someone up there now. Why do you need a floater if you have that position?
Well, we're running into, well, just yesterday, Greg, our front desk receptionist, he took off, and so now you have,
Couldn't they be transferred to your secretary per se? I'm just using that
she
as an
can't do it,
example.
she's not a union position.
Oh,
Yeah, see what I'm saying?
and
What
can't go to
does
Public
every other
Works either.
department head, like, I know when I was in Public Works, if my secretary was off, I put one of my guys in that position,
Well,
to answer phones. I mean, it's somebody that sits up there and answers the phone and directs it. You mean those phones can't ring in a different office and there'd be an issue with unions?
all right, look, here's the situation, all right? When the receptionist takes off, we have two union people, which is Darlene and which is Pat, they cover. Now, a grievance
Because
could...
it's a union position.
Okay,
right?
it
I
is
mean, they wouldn't have to
exactly.
leave their desk, Darlene or Pat, if the phone was transferred to their cubicle or their office.
Well, they don't have a problem with coming out, and they can log into Munis, and they can do their work out there. But if one of those takes off, then you have a problem, okay? So then the secretaries, Michelle,
Way out of that problem.
then the secretaries, Michelle and Maureen, they have to come out, and they have to cover. So if you have one or two of them off, then you have a problem where work
That
doesn't.
sounds like a scheduling issue. I don't know.
Well, it's
Then
whatever
we need
the...
a part-timer for everybody that has vacation.
All right. Well, I mean, it's
That's
the
the way I
pleasure of
see it.
council. What does council want to do?
Are you suggesting to combine the positions to have one position?
Correct.
Or two part-time?
No,
One.
one.
One part-time position,
That is correct.
It'd be right to know and go into the company.
and that's combining those two
So it-
amounts you
okay.
have?
That is correct.
And how many hours are you looking to?
Well, I think in the beginning, you have to understand, by the time you get ramped up and you do hire somebody, I don't think you're gonna spend $15,000, $20,000 throughout the year, because you're not gonna be really starting to call somebody in until maybe the beginning of the second quarter, probably. By the time you hire somebody, it may not be till late February. So I don't think you're gonna be spending a lot of money on the position.
My only other question would be is the summer help we have, we use usually one of those people to be the floater for the phones and people on vacation as well, don't we?
We did, but we had Tara, the girl, and we didn't have anybody at the front desk this year, I don't think. But we did have the girl that was in Park and Rec, and she came up on occasions and did a nice job, as a matter of fact. I don't think we had anybody in summer help.
So that would cover that for the summer months.
That's true.
Potentially,
Yeah,
could,
that's
yes.
why that's kind of where I was going with that.
These right-to-knows are very important that they be handled properly, and unfortunately, the state puts a timeline on them. And I've seen several occasions, I know I've talked to Mr. Ratcher, where Joe, not on purpose, just because of the way they fell, didn't get filed in time, so the state immediately rules against us, and that causes Bob to have to go downtown to court. And these right-to-knows cost a lot more time than I think a lot of you realize. And then they could end up costing us a lot of money if just the timing of the file or the response to these right-to-knows, and I've been reading them and seeing them, and I'm just saying that this person, along with filling in at the front desk, I think that money's worth it myself.
There can be an extension. I'm just asking, is that correct?
Yeah, yeah.
A request for an extension on it?
Correct.
On
Yeah.
any
Yeah.
right-to-know.
One of the things I think that happens, though, is, so you have 5 days normally, 5 working days, business days. You can ask for a 30-day extension. One of the things that happens, though, is that you start customarily, because you're behind, you're asking for 30-day extensions. And then you're all filled up with 30-day extensions, so you've got 30 days worth of, 35 days worth of work queued up. So you probably, you're not getting anywhere because you've filled both mailboxes now. And I think that's where Joe is oftentimes.
Well, I need,
Council, what's our flavor?
flavor.
I'm in favor of keeping it.
Keeping it or hiring?
I mean, keeping it in the budget.
I mean, are we voting on every item tonight?
No, I
this
mean,
is
I
one
just
item.
need I need a consensus whether to put it in, take it out, you know.
Well, this can be decided before we pass the budget.
Sure.
If council needs more time to gather
Sure.
more information, maybe dig into like the time that is required for the right to knows. Maybe that's what we all need to kind of sit back and maybe look at the numbers that we've had over the past few years, maybe look at the appeals that we've had, and maybe that'll give council a better understanding what we require here.
Sure.
But we can make that decision before we pass the budget.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah, I mean, that makes more sense than just saying,
Well,
Instead of just,
and if we would, let's just say offhand that we would say, we don't want that in the budget, and then the time comes where we see that, we really could use that, we can always, the money would be in the general fund, right?
After you lose a bunch of right to knows.
Why am I losing a bunch of right to knows?
You
Mr.
said
Sedlak's not
when the time
resigning.
comes that we see that we need them, that would be.
No, I'm talking more about the
workload.
the workload. I'm just asking. We could still,
You
after
can,
budget
you
passes.
can make a budget adjustment at any time
Time-
during the year.
Okay, I'm just
Unquestionably.
making sure that I understood that
Sure.
correctly. That's all.
We okay now?
I like that we knocked the number down, though.
That we're
That
going to take
I
a little
do.
deeper into this issue.
And there's
fine
also
with me.
been some
I
effort.
think you should.
I know Mr. Little's talked about in the past as far as, and our website does have a great deal of information, almost all the information that we have. And now we've added a few things. We have the YouTube channel where the meetings are. So if we can reduce the items that we have to deliver because they're already accessible either through our website or through different means, then that might reduce the workload as well on the right to know officer.
Can we put our right to know requests on our website?
That's a Ratcher question.
Yeah, they're public documents.
They are public documents. If
I
you
mean,
want
the
to-
public would get an idea of where we're at.
Oh, yeah, we could certainly do that. The decisions, we can do that as well, yeah.
He wants it.
That's a great idea.
I know what you meant. He didn't get what you meant.
So, Mr. Little? Let's say, for example, we choose not to go forward with that part of the budget. But that $10,000, that'll be put somewhere else, is that correct?
It won't be put it somewhere else, it'll just be taken out of the budget, and you'd have
So-
less
So
expense.
we'll lose that $10,000.
We reduce the budget.
It-
Just
No, it just
reduce.
reduces the budget.
Just
Then it goes in the
reduces it.
general fund, it would
Yeah.
stay.
Right, okay. So Linda's question was that somewhere down the road, all of a sudden, we say, well, maybe we should have done this. So that 10,000 could be there, and we could vote upon that.
You can make a budget adjustment during the year.
Okay.
You
Thank
can do that.
Next item, Tim.